The Knicks won a massive game last night to take a 1-0 lead over the Spurs in the NBA Finals, and I thought a lot of it had to do with the Knicks' collective defense as well as just heroic efforts from Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson. Brunson with his shot making down the stretch, Karl-Anthony Towns on both ends of the floor, and I wanted to just break down some of the offensive and defensive things that the Knicks did to really make things difficult for the Spurs. So I want to start with the offensive side of the ball for the Knicks, where they cause a lot of common problems for the Spurs defense. They start with this opening set where they run this punch action. Jalen Brunson's going to set this cross screen for Karl-Anthony Towns to get this post-up entry, and immediately flows into screen the screener action where Brunson sets this rip screen for Anunoby, followed up by this down screen from Josh Hart, and this frees up Brunson for a wide open three. And the reason why this action works so well is a lot of people assumed that Wemby was going to be guarding Josh Hart before the series, similar to what they did in the regular season, but he starts on Cat, and you can see how far away Wemby is from the basket. So when this action happens, two Spurs defenders completely overreact to this and both go to OG Anunoby knowing that Wemby's not in the paint, and this frees up Jalen Brunson. With Cat's shooting ability, it makes him a real threat as a trail big. You can see once again how far away Wemby is from the paint. This time he's way above the three-point line. So when Brunson sets this inverted screen for Cat, he's able to just completely blow by Wemby. Now it's a much smaller backline in the paint and it's an easy two. It's the same thing on this play off this Spurs turnover. Cat trails the play, Wemby needs to respect the shot, and it's another blow by for a layup. The Knicks really made it an emphasis to get Wemby outside of the paint and to attack him on the perimeter. So on this baseline out of bounds play, they run this simple screen and pop action between Alvarado and Cat. But the key to this play is it's an empty side screen and pop. So the Knicks clear out this strong side corner so no Spurs defenders can help on this strong side. So when Alvarado blows by Wemby here, it's an easy reverse layup. There's no strong side help and Wemby gets called for the goaltend. The Knicks also did a great job at spacing the floor in this game. You can see when Alvarado blows by Wemby, Stephon Castle usually would be the guy to step up and help on the weak side, but because Anunoby is parked in this corner, he's shooting 48% from three in the playoffs. Stephon Castle doesn't even look at this drive here, and this gives Alvarado this easy layup. Again, another possession where Cat's trailing the play, but this time instead of using his speed, Cat's able to use his athleticism and strength to get by Wemby, and that's one of the advantages he has against Wemby in combination with his shooting. He's able to just get by Wemby with pure strength and pure force on these drives, and it's another blow by. The Knicks were also able to get Wemby outside of the paint by playing with pace and transition. So you can see right off this Vassell miss, Alvarado is immediately getting up the floor, not waiting for his teammates to run on offense. And you can see Karl-Anthony Towns now has this mismatch because he's the first guy down the floor. Vassell is guarding Karl-Anthony Towns, so Towns is immediately just going to get deep inside the paint. Alvarado notices this, so when he gets this screen from Anunoby, he comes off this screen and Cat's able to set this Gortat screen and screen off Vassell. Alvarado gets a wide open layup with no help at the rim. Here's another example of an empty side pick and roll where this time it's Mikal Bridges as the ball handler, and once again you can see Wemby being outside of the paint. So when Mikal Bridges uses this screen, he's able to drive by Wemby. This forces help to come. Last time when Jose Alvarado blew by Wemby, there was zero help, but this time Spurs are ready for this help, but because of the spacing and the shooters that the Knicks have, Mikal Bridges is able to spray this out to Jose Alvarado. That's a great look at three. And I think the Knicks do a great job of doing the little things offensively. You can see when Mikal Bridges drives, OG Anunoby just sets this quick flare screen while Stephon Castle's back is turned. So when Castle turns around, he needs to get through Anunoby, but it's way too late. Once again, the Spurs continuing to struggle to defend this action. This time the Knicks are setting it up out of this sideline out of bounds. They set it up with page action, which is pretty much just a pin down into a handoff. So you can see Anunoby's going to set this pin down for Brunson to come get this handoff from Cat, and they're going to flow into an empty side pick and roll. No corner help again for the Spurs, and Wemby this time is going to switch onto Jalen Brunson. And now you have the much smaller defender on Karl-Anthony Towns. So when Brunson isolates and gets this shot up, now you have Stephon Castle trying to box out a much bigger Karl-Anthony Towns, and this is just an offensive rebound for Karl-Anthony Towns that's way too easy, and this leads to a second chance opportunity. So with the success that the Knicks had of dragging Victor Wembanyama outside of the paint, the Spurs decided to make an adjustment by changing the matchup on Cat. Instead of Wemby guarding Cat, they decided to put Wemby on Josh Hart, which in theory would allow him to roam around the paint and help off of Josh Hart, who is a weaker defender. But now the Spurs have another problem where they don't really have a great matchup on Cat outside of Victor Wembanyama. So on this sideline out of bounds play, you can see the much smaller Devin Vassell is guarding Karl-Anthony Towns. So Jalen Brunson simply inbounds the ball to Josh Hart, and it's an easy lob pass over the top for 2 points with Cat stealing. I think if you're the San Antonio Spurs, if you're Victor Wembanyama especially, you definitely have to take away these easy layups at the basket. And you can see in this clip here, Victor Wembanyama is just selling out hard on Josh Hart. I think the idea from Wemby was that he thought that Jalen Brunson was going to get this handoff from Josh Hart, and their defensive game plan was definitely to be up to touch with Jalen Brunson, prevent some of these easy pull-ups. But I think, like I said, if you're Wemby, you got to take away these easy mismatches, easy buckets in the paint, and you have to rely more on your other defenders. Like in this case, De'Aaron Fox, he definitely could have stunted. He definitely could have walled up Jalen Brunson on this handoff and rely on rotations from there. But like I said, this creates a lot of problems with the Spurs as well, because Karl-Anthony Towns can easily have a mismatch with most of the defenders that the Spurs put out on the floor outside of Victor Wembanyama himself. This time it's Keldon Johnson guarding Cat, so when Cat tries to post up the smaller defender, you can see Wemby kind of lurking around in the paint already, helping off of Josh Hart. So the Knicks actually decide to just swing it to Josh Hart, and he takes his three, which is a look that you live with if you're the Spurs. But for some reason, Victor Wembanyama is running out and contesting this three-point shot, and this leaves Cat on an island with Keldon Johnson, and this is a really easy offensive rebound that he's able to just muscle his way through and get this and one opportunity. So if you're Wemby here, you have to live with this open three-pointer from Josh Hart. You don't need to close out this hard because you give up this one-on-one rebounding chance with Karl-Anthony Towns. If Wemby didn't close out on Josh Hart, it's probably an easy defensive rebound. It was a lot of Brunson in the final quarter, where here off this Spurs turnover, they're pushing in transition, preventing the Spurs from getting set up on defense, and they flow into this pick and roll with Brunson and Mitchell Robinson. And once again, to get Wemby outside of the paint, Mitchell Robinson sets this Gortat screen. We saw Cat set the Gortat screen for Alvarado. This time it's Mitchell Robinson for Jalen Brunson, and it's another wide open layup. Arguably the biggest play of the game, Brunson gets a clear side to isolate and gets into the paint, and the Spurs are now in rotation. OG Anunoby misses a three, but this is a 6'2" Jalen Brunson jumping over Devin Vassell. This is all grit, all NBA Finals hustle. And you can see Mikal Bridges gets this ball. Brunson relocates to the corner. It's a wide open three. This was a massive shot in the game. The Knicks were dialed in defensively all night long, especially with defending some of these Spurs common actions. This is one of my favorite moments for the game. Take a look at Landry Shamet subbing into the game, and he's signaling to the team that the Spurs are going to come down and run this pistol action followed by this hammer action. And you can see Jalen Brunson even nod his head in acknowledgement. And so when the Spurs come down after this free throw, you can see Stephon Castle and De'Aaron Fox try and run this common pistol action, which is pretty much just a guard-to-guard handoff. Josh Hart completely blows up this action and denies his ball from even being touched by Stephon Castle. And so when De'Aaron Fox flows into the second action, the hammer action on the weak side, you can see Landry Shamet deflects the ball from even getting to Devin Vassell. And if you play back this clip here, you can see Landry Shamet even point to OG Anunoby to be ready for this hammer screen, and the Knicks completely shut down this action from the Spurs. In contrast to the Spurs, the Knicks did a really good job at defending some of the empty side pick and roll actions that the Spurs had a lot of success in the Thunder series. So you can see here, Stephon Castle and Wemby set up for this empty side pick and roll, but Josh Hart just completely ices this screen, which is pretty much just denying the ball handler from using the screen and forcing him to the baseline. Wemby actually does a good job here at switching the angle of the screen and pretty much setting this step-up screen for Stephon Castle to use, but still there's no real roll advantage for Wemby. And so when Stephon Castle gets into the paint, he's kind of stuck here in the middle of the lane, and he tries to throw this pass to the corner to Keldon Johnson, and Mikal Bridges does a great job at stealing this pass. The Spurs really like running this high horns action where it's pretty much just two screens at the top of the court, usually one of them being the big man. So in this case, Wemby's the guy setting the screen, but the Knicks do a good job at defending this They have Brunson tag Wemby here. You can see him kind of nudge Wemby here and slow down his roll to the basket. Dylan Harper has the ball. He's going to the rim, and you can see Mitchell Robinson's containing this drive well. Wemby's slow to the roll, so Dylan Harper doesn't really have an angle at the rim or an angle at a pass, so he's kind of stuck in midair here. He throws it to Vassell, who's not really open, and he's forced to pretty much save the ball from going out of bounds. Leads to a turnover, and Brunson's on the other end on the fast break with a wide open layup. It's the same nudge here by Brunson, and this gives time for Shamet to get back to Vassell because they aren't really worried about this roll. Brunson gets back to Champagny, and it's a good contest. Cat did a really good job in one-on-one isolations and post-ups against Wemby, and I thought a lot of it had to do with Cat's strength advantage that he has over Wemby, and a lot of the moves that Wemby usually goes to didn't really move Karl-Anthony Towns the same way it moved guys like Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren in the last series. And so you can see here Wemby was getting walled up for most of the game against Karl-Anthony Towns, and this is something that the Spurs are probably going to have to explore. They got to find ways to get Wemby going downhill, off the catch and off the move, rather than just stand-alone post-ups and stand-alone isolations. They were perfectly fine with letting guys like Harper and Castle beat them from three. So you can see here Mikal Bridges helps off of Harper, and he's able to force Devin Vassell into a really tough contested mid-range. And this was kind of a theme all night for the Spurs guards, where they weren't able to get downhill as easily as the OKC series because of the New York's wings and the length that they have. I think the Knicks really came out prepared, and the fatigue from that Game 7 for San Antonio showed a lot in this game. I think there's a lot of fixable things for the Spurs, but the Knicks are currently just hitting on all cylinders. It's going to be really tough to stop this team, and it's going to be a really fun series.